Kick it
Thank
off.
you everyone for joining us. I might hand it over to Blake really briefly to give a bit of an intro, and then we'll get cracking into it.
Cool. An intro on myself, Ben, or what we're doing today?
Yeah, and just maybe our relationship, mate. How you and I have known each other for a little while.
Cool. Yeah. So, hi everyone. My name is Blake. I'm the CEO of Bamboo. You may have seen me around or writing some articles. So, yeah, we've known the Collective Shift team for quite a while now. I was an early member of the group actually when it first started out, and it's transformed over the years for sure. And Collective Shift focus on education and helping navigate people through the crypto ecosystem, because so many people have troubles doing it because there's so much information out there. It's hard to navigate, and particularly for those people that might be entering the space for the first time or even investing for the first time. So yeah, we've worked with Collective Shift on a weekly and monthly basis, creating content, educational material, and yeah, wherever we can. So we thought would host a webinar today to talk about some topics that might be interesting to our user base and listeners of the Crypto Curious podcast.
Amazing. Yeah, thanks so much, Blake. We've known you guys for a long time now. You, Trace, Elliot, Craig, and the team. So really stoked to be working with you long term. And I think our values align in terms of trying to help people get into crypto safely with good platforms and getting the right information. So super pumped to present this with you all tonight. As always, you can pop in your questions in the chat. We'll get to some Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions, you can start to think of those and whack those in as we go through. But really the topic of tonight's presentation is really going to be around where is the market right now and how to invest safely. So there's been a lot of talk around when the bull market is going to return. Have we seen the bottom? Maybe some new investment opportunities, and also investing strategies that we've seen that work best in bull and bear markets. So we'll get into all of that tonight, and we're going to be wrapping up around a bit after 8. I'm going to start with a little story because if you look in Blake's background, he's currently in Bali, and I just got back from Bali. And I wanted to share this story really quickly because it's my first time to Bali. I've done a bit of travel in the last few months, but Bali was unlike anything else. It was completely chaotic, cars and scooters everywhere. You can't walk on the footpath. A lot of local rules I didn't know. And I was trying to fumble my way around on my own. So the first few days were a complete disaster. Trying to find where to go, trying to find where to work, where I was staying, no Wi-Fi, didn't know where to eat. Complete disaster. Until I sort of pulled my finger out and actually went and spoke to a local. There's a friend of mine that actually lives in Bali, and I rang him up and basically went and had a chat to him, and he started to help me around and pointed me in the right directions, told me where to get the scooter, told me where to not get $9.50 coffee, told me where to stay. I ended up in Canggu. And after that conversation, after I sort of set myself up with him, I had a really great trip. And that reminded me of so many people getting into crypto when they're trying to do everything themselves, trying to figure out this endless ocean of information, trying to figure out who to trust, who to listen to in a completely new environment. It can be super, super difficult to wrap your head around. And if you're listening to the wrong people or the wrong information, like we see all the time, people, fall in the trap of, getting scammed or, trying to invest in these random altcoins that these influencers are saying get 100x overnight. And you end up with a portfolio of, 47 altcoins, 39 of them, you don't know what they do, and you're down 80% of your portfolio. And we see it all the time. So it's one of the core reasons why we create a Collective Shift as a way to help educate people and provide a platform where we can provide really simple insights and analysis based off trends and strategies that we've seen work over the last 6 or 7 years. So Collective Shift now, we have over 1,000 members. We've educated over 10,000 crypto investors globally. I've been in crypto now since about 2016. I was really fortunate to do a TEDx talk last year on crypto, and I'm really passionate about helping people in the space. I've been hurt in the past. I've done a lot of things wrong, done a lot of things right, been scammed, done the whole rigmarole. And now what we've been able to do is pull everything together and share those lessons under one platform. So I'm going to hand over to Matt, who's our head of research and content, to give a little brief intro of him as well.
Yeah, thank you, Ben. As I said, Matt, head of research, and lay up a small team of analysts here at Collective Shift. Our job to keep on top of all things crypto and pass that on, synthesize it, simplify it for all of our members. I do also do some presentations at different industry conferences and events throughout the year. And I've worked full time in crypto now. Well, actually, my whole professional career. So that's about going into the 6th year now. So also, I've invested in crypto since 2017 and gone through many ups and downs. So looking forward to getting into that over the next hour or so.
And Blake, I'll quickly hand over to you. You've already done a little bit of intro, but I know you've been
different haircut.
Different haircut.
Definitely. I'm the CEO of Bamboo, and I've been participating in the sector since about 2015. But I really dived in headfirst in about 2016. I was living in China. I was arbitrage trading Bitcoins between Europe and where I was living in Shanghai. And that means I was essentially buying them and selling them for a higher price in China. And then came back to Australia and started working with an investment fund in 2017 that solely focused on allocating capital to the digital asset sector. And really down the rabbit hole since then, from software development in the blockchain space, startups, and funds management. So quite a diversity of activities.
Awesome, man. And really quickly, who is Collective Shift? Well, we now work with some of the really proud to be working with some of the leading brands. So we work with the likes of the Australian Open, we're the official research partner of SwiftX, which is the second largest crypto exchange here in Australia. We do some work with the Monash University, Financial Review, and a number of brands. So we're really fortunate to be sort of leading the space in education, and thanks everyone for tuning in tonight. So really 3 key things we're going to be talking about tonight. One is the state of the crypto market. Where are we at right now? So you get a bit of an insight to understand where we might be in our cycle. Matt's going to talk on some of the latest trends that we're seeing in crypto, some strategies and sectors that you might be interested in looking at. And then we're going to end with basically how to more basic sort of investing strategies on how you can get into the market safely and effectively. And we're going to end with Q&A. So if you have any questions throughout, feel free to shoot them through, and we'll get to those at the end. So really, we see crypto moving in 4-year cycles. And the reason the 4-year cycle holds true is because of the Bitcoin halving. So the Bitcoin halving is basically every 4 years, the supply of Bitcoin halves. So, and that's coming up in April next year. And historically, every time the halving comes around, about 6 months either side of the Bitcoin halving, we get this bull market. And you can see here the annualized return since 2011, see in the 4-year chunks. You can see 1 year out of every 4 years, we have a big decline. And this is when a lot of people tend to sell. They panic, the media get in the way, and they start talking about how Bitcoin's going to zero. There's a lot of FUD in the market. People are panicked and they're scared because we tend to get pretty narrow focused in crypto, and we only think about what's happening in the last few months. Where if you zoom out, you can see that actually 3 out of the 4 years, we have exponential returns for Bitcoin. And we saw that in 2022. Bitcoin rallied to about 60,000 US, went all the way down to about 16,000 US back in December. And as of the start of 2023, we're up about 60 or 70% off the lows. It went nearly up to 100% in 3 or 4 months. So these cycles tend to be pretty consistent. Obviously, it's not a crystal ball. It's not going to give you exact time and measures, but the 4-year cycles tends to hold true. And then we migrate that information amongst a lot of other things like the macro environment, on-chain data, and a few other things, which we'll get into in a second. So really, what are the bottom signals for us? Well, one, as we know, Bitcoin has these major retracements. Prices are down for Bitcoin around 50 or 60%. A lot of the altcoins are down 90%. And this is where a lot of the what we call the weak hands, the retail investors tend to move on and flush out. And it's when the whales and the people that have been in the space for a long time start to accumulate. And you can see this in the on-chain data. It happens over and over and over again, where you can see the retail investors come in, they buy at the top of the market when it's exciting and there's FOMO-driven activity, and everyone thinks they're going to get rich, and they buy. And then what happens is the OGs, or the people with the money and the whales that are more sophisticated, have been there for a long time. They see that retail money come in, they sell their crypto into the retail investors. All the whales make the money, the retail lose, and then it just happens over and over and over again. So this is really consistent because of how emotional crypto is. And that's why we really talk about being as unemotional as possible and setting up strategies to be recurring and consistent and effective without relying on your emotion, because human psychology can get in the way pretty easily in crypto. The second point I want to touch on. Oh, you go.
Sorry, I might just interject there and say, it's not just, I don't think it's just the inflation rate of Bitcoin with the new supply halving every 4 years, but it's also the fact that crypto is, the adoption rate is increasing by about 100% per year on average every year. So there's two factors there. There's the decrease in supply and the increase of demand of more people using these networks. So it's those two things that drive these 4-year cycles, I think.
100%. I think we hit all-time highs pretty recently in terms of active, unique Bitcoin wallet addresses. So that lowering supply, the limited supply, and increasing demand, starts to really increase that pressure on the Bitcoin price, which is really exciting. The second dot point here is just where the attention is. So the attention on crypto is completely moved away. First was NFTs, and now it's AI. We see that a lot of the short-term speculators have mostly left. I mean, we kind of saw it pop up with Pepe and a few of the meme coins more recently. They sort of come when there's price action, but as we see the attention shift away, that's another good signal that the bottom might be in. And as Warren Buffett's famous quote is, "Be fearful when people are greedy, and greedy when people are fearful." And right now, we're kind of really in that fearful stage. And more importantly, as I mentioned, like, it's impossible to really predict the future, but using some of the signals and data that we're about to show can really give you a good indication where we're on the market. And for me, dollar cost averaging just makes the most sense. And I'm not just saying that because Bamboo's a dollar cost averaging app. I've been dollar cost averaging for the last 6 years. I buy every week. I took 2 years of my whole salary in Bitcoin a few years back. I tend to think it's the most easy, effective way to build up your stack, whether it be Bitcoin or Ethereum, whatever it might be. If you're like me and impatient, you just want to go and barrel in and buy a big lump sum, but we don't always just have a large, swash of cash sitting on the sideline. So being able to take a percentage of your wage or percentage of your savings or whatever that might be, rounding up your purchases into Bitcoin or crypto is a really seamless way. And as I said, I've been doing it for a long time, and it's a great way to basically reduce the volatility of Bitcoin by trying to peak the tops and bottoms.
I think that's a really important point. And I'll pick out one aspect of that, Ben, is that we have lots of indicators here showing where we're at in the market cycle, but even the professionals don't get it right from a timing point of view. We see funds, professional investors, well-resourced groups that mess it up, and that really just goes to show a testament to the dollar cost averaging strategy, because you don't need to time it. The strategy kind of takes care of it.
100%. Totally agree. So, where does that leave us now? Well, where's the bull market, right, going to return? That's when everyone wants to know, right? I think some of the things that are really going to help us, number one, is the crypto regulation. So as we all know, there's been a lot of speculation around a lot of people over in the US, SEC, Senator Warren, especially come out with something today around now saying we need to shut down crypto because it powers fentanyl trades or purchases or something like that, which is just completely ridiculous. It's just getting beyond ridiculous now in terms of the percentage that Bitcoin and crypto is used for illegal payments versus what fiat currency is just astronomical. So a lot of these politicians tend to take out small data pieces and turn it into a narrative that fits within their political campaigns, which is super frustrating in my opinion. But these things will play out. They'll play out their due course. So I think once we get a bit more clarity on regulations, especially around Ethereum being a security and a few other bits and pieces, I think that'll really help us find some more clarity in the market. And I was actually speaking to a lawyer here in Australia last night, saying there's actually been some really good progress in the behind the scenes here in Australia around potentially in the next 12 to 24 months, exchanges and providers in the space having some sort of license that they need to have in crypto to be able to transact. And there's going to be a little bit more clarity in the market, which I think is really good, because I think once we get to a point where we're not living in the grey, we can all start to play within the rules a little bit and be a bit more comfortable.
Yeah, and I can certainly talk to the innovation side of that, Ben. What we saw that really spurred the last cycles was technological innovation that created new industries, that created billions of dollars of value that flowed back into the large market cap coins like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the others. And some examples of that were decentralized finance, NFTs, ICOs, and they literally gave birth to new industries. So what we expect to see over the next maybe 12 or 24 months is this technology, blockchain technology, being used in new and innovative ways that unlock new markets or new opportunities for people to create value, and then that'll flow back into the rest of the ecosystem and kind of perpetuate or support these cycles.
Yeah, so I totally agree, man. With the economic conditions as well, I mean, it's been pretty brutal in terms of inflation and cost of living across the board. Inflation continues to cause sort of havoc across the world, and discretionary spending is down. We've seen that across the board. Companies like Airbnb are really struggling with the booking rates, and utilization rates are down across the board. Rent prices are going up, mortgage prices are going up. So the discretionary spending is far less for people to invest, especially when it comes into crypto. As Blake sort of touched on, innovation. So, spurring innovation and building products that are actually solving real world solutions, I think, is another one. We've seen that a lot of the best companies actually come out of the bear market. So in the last bear market, 2018, companies like Aave, Synthetics, I think even Uniswap, were born out of these bear markets, and you tend to see the best companies survive because they're actually still there creating a product that people are willing to use. What you tend to see is the companies and the projects that don't make it through probably didn't have the right product market fit or didn't have the right business model, and tend to be flushed out in these periods as well. And the last one is just time. So, as time goes on, we continue to build, as Blake was saying, that, the adoption continues to grow, demand continues to grow, institutions continue to jump on board. And even if we think broader in Web3 with, I went down and met with the AFL yesterday. The AFL Mint, they have their own NFT project. They're working on ways to continue building that out. Companies are thinking about ways they can, enter the Web3 and crypto space because they see it as a great opportunity to, move with the times and get digital and being able to engage their consumer base. So, the technology isn't going anywhere, and it's just a matter of time until we continue to see that pick up and prices return, and everyone will be happy and rosy again, as it's happened a number of times before. Matt, I might hand it over to you, mate, to talk about a few of the trends and things we're seeing over at Collective Shift.
Yeah, spot on, Ben. Thanks for that. As I said, in the bear markets, it's often the times when developers have time to really knuckle down, work on innovation, solving different solutions that the space definitely needs. You sort of see it exaggerated in the bull market. You see things get stretched to their limits, and then you sort of identify what are the pain points that need solving. Absolutely, one of the by far the most clear sort of needs that became apparent in the last bull market was just how easily it takes how easily a lot of these blockchains, like including Bitcoin and Ethereum, I guess how easily that it takes for users to come in, use the blockchain, and all of a sudden you see the fees spike. So I suppose the performance and the ability for these blockchains to handle just waves of people using them at once is still pretty lackluster. And so you've got the likes of Ethereum here. This is one trend that the team has been following quite closely for a couple of years now, and 2023 has been a year where we've seen a lot of sort of progress in scaling the Ethereum blockchain. So you've got these sort of other networks that are building on top of this blockchain. So you often hear these phrases for people who are newer to the space. You'll often hear layer 1 blockchains, layer 2 blockchains. That's essentially that is a network that's building on top of Ethereum. So we've got examples here like Optimism, Arbitrum, even Polygon to an extent. They're just networks that, hey, they gather a bunch of activity, a bunch of transactions, and they just post them back to the Ethereum layer 1 blockchain, all in batches. So it reduces the sort of burden on the transaction fees. And then, people like all of us here watching, this webinar can, interact and transact with each other for a lot more cheaply. So that's the idea. And certainly seeing a lot more progress in 2023. So a lot of these solutions do have native cryptocurrencies themselves. So ETH is an example of the native cryptocurrency for Ethereum. For those of you who are a bit newer to this space, you've got the same thing happening with Optimism, Arbitrum, and Polygon, and you can see the tickers for their tokens that are in the brackets there. Again, I would argue, from an investment standpoint, like I personally don't hold any of these three. It's probably the value, proposition the way that these tokens accrue value is still very much up for debate, and the jury's out with respect to those. So that's going to be something that the team will be closely following as these networks get adopted and as they grow, which they definitely have so far this year. I'm not sure, Blake, if you've played around with some of these solutions, but they've come a long way, I suppose, in the past 12 months.
Yeah, certainly. They're great solutions for people to increase adoption of the Ethereum blockchain. And for example, Polygon have done such great work giving tools and doing business development to get big, massive, world-class brands onto their platform and starting to use it and starting to build products. They've done an incredible job. I think you're right. The verdict's still out whether or not over time the base layer of Ethereum will incorporate things like zero knowledge proofs and sharding, which will then reduce the how popular these layer 2s are. But for now, they certainly solve a problem. They've captured a lot of value, and I think that's not going to change in the short term.
Thanks, boys. And Elliot's got a nice question there. We'll look back to at the end. Team, if you have any questions, feel free to ping them in there or save them in the end. We'll get to those. Gaming, Matt.
Thanks for that one, Elliot. If it's related to what we're talking about, or even if it's just anything about crypto, we'll definitely get to it at the end. Just use that chat function on this webinar. Another one absolutely has been gaming. That's another trend that, again, in this sort of quieter period is one that we're sort of focusing on. Why is that the case? Well, one signal we really look for, and has sort of been a pretty good signal over the years, has been, where is the venture capital and even just the human capital, so like the talent, where is that flowing? And one trend in 2020 all the way definitely last year was particularly relevant, was gaming. If you look at all of the venture capital that went to crypto last year for the calendar year 2022, gaming was one of the most probably popular sort of investments. That, again, important to note here, that doesn't inherently mean it's going to explode and be a massive market in the future. But as I said, traditionally it's been a pretty good signal directionally, sort of what sort of areas in crypto are going to sort of be at the forefront by the time the next bull market comes. Just as we just spoke about with layer 2s and their tokens, probably the connection between these gaming sort of crypto projects and probably the value of their token is again up for debate. How those tokens sort of accrue value, different ways you can lock up the tokens and whatnot. Again, as Ben touched on earlier, there's a lot of unknowns about the whether these are security, how they classified. Are these tokens going to be regulated as securities or commodities? We don't know that yet. And I think, as Ben touched on earlier, some more legal clarity in these sorts of areas may definitely catalyze some growth for the whole crypto market, but gaming in particular. So I'm not much of a gamer myself. I'm not sure if either of you guys are. You're probably too busy, but we are probably the big criticism I'll touch on quickly on gaming to date in crypto has been that the games just aren't fun. At the end of the day, you can work so much on tokenomics or working with the blockchain and all that, which some of the more developers might find is a bit of a thrill and interesting. But at the end of the day, if a game's not fun, in my opinion, I'm really skeptical that crypto gaming will take off in its current form. Thankfully, there is like a lot of games in development, but the thing about gaming is the more quality, I suppose, the game or aspirational it is from just a graphics standpoint and playability, those things do still take a lot of time. So there is quite a few like sort of higher level and more anticipated games in the crypto space coming out later this year and at the start of next year. So again, the team is sort of looking at the likes of Illuvium, even ApeCoin is related to a metaverse that Yuga Labs is sort of creating, and Immutable X is sort of a team. A lot of the team is sort of has its roots in Australia, and they're sort of, again, a different way that it's connected to crypto gaming, but they're not a game itself. So a lot going on in gaming, and again, another sort of area that could catalyze sort of the next bull run in crypto.
Yeah, I think it might be important to note that, for a gaming token to, you know, appreciate in price, it needs to have network effect. And lots of these games are starting with 0 users or only a few 100,000 users. But, for them to be really successful, they need to be dropped into games that are already have tens of millions or hundreds of millions of people using them. So, yeah, until we start seeing the big brands dropping in or leveraging the technology, it just feels though that it's a long way off.
Yeah,
Thanks,
for
team. And
sure.
the
There's a
last
lot of money being thrown at it for sure, and a lot of talent. But you've even got some challenges there with respect to even the gatekeepers of the app store. So like if it's mobile games, you've got Apple always wants their cut of the transactions. That's an enormous barrier for all basically anything related to blockchain or the crypto industry at the moment. Let alone a game that's wanting you to interact with a token during the game. That may be tricky. So a lot of barriers there, but definitely one that I think is still worthy of keeping track of during this bear market.
Thanks, Mitchell. Good question. We'll come back to that at the end.
Nice.
Matt, investing in crypto safely and effectively.
Yeah, so over the years, all through interacting with members and hearing their stories and questions, and even my own sort of personal investment journey, these are probably the three of the sort of top tips I would have for investing in crypto safely and effectively. First one is, yeah, this is a lot easier said than done. Trust me when I say this, creating your own entry and exit plan with a market and asset class so nascent and volatile. You think ahead of time that you'll be right in terms of just going with the flow of the market and knowing when to sell some, knowing when to buy some. But trust me, when things get crazy, it's you'll be a lot more effective in your probably investment goals. In my opinion, if you do spend time to at the start write down a plan of how you are going to enter into the asset class, and almost more importantly, how are you going to exit your investments? If they do reach a future price, are you going to take off 15% of your holdings, for example? That's something that does not get talked about enough, and I've seen a lot of people get burnt, unfortunately, by holding their entire position in a given token or coin and holding it all the way through and round tripping it back to the bear markets. Sort of a rite of passage, but I suppose tonight, hopefully for you newer participants out there, you can at least get my warning and sit down and ask yourself some key questions about what you actually want from this crypto space if you are investing in it or dollar cost averaging. Probably a second one here is kind of related. It doesn't get talked about enough, but speaking to a tax accountant, again, with a space that's so new, the tax implications, depending on where you're living, which everyone here tonight is in Australia, it can get pretty overwhelming and confusing. The tax software has definitely come a long way, in the past, few years in particular. But again, they're not yet at the standard that you can probably confidently use them yourself. So my recommendation, at least, would be to touch base with an accountant. So there's some good ones in Australia, which we can point your way if you like. And then storing your crypto as well. If you are dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin and ETH, it might eventually hit a position or a size where you are maybe not so confident having it stored on an exchange, for example, and you might then want to. Why is that the case? It's because ultimately, it isn't your crypto. If you do hold it on the likes of Binance or Coinbase or Kraken, ultimately it's sort of just like an IOU. A lot more sensible in the long term to take it off there and put it into your own control, into your own custody. To do that, there's a lot of things. Yeah, you might have heard of things called wallets before, or ledgers. So Ledger is probably the biggest sort of hardware wallet. Again, we can point you in the right direction if you do have any questions about it, but that's something I see a lot of people, unfortunately. FTX was probably the most well-known example, where if you had $10,000 on FTX when it collapsed in November, unfortunately, that's now locked up for many years, and you may never see it again once it goes to all the bankruptcy proceedings, or you might see 30 cents on the dollar, for example, or maybe never again. So yeah, really unfortunate thing, but we can learn from those mistakes. Alrighty, Ben, we'll go to the next one. This is probably, again, one more thing as we got here on the slides. Probably the most important one. Again, it's just very, I think a lot of times people try to overcomplicate things, anything to do with finance, personal finance or investing. And when you talk about cliches or things that get repeated, often you can sort of lose sense of how important it is, because I often do that a lot just in, personal life in different things. But dollar cost averaging, it's just so tried and true of just how many benefits it has in terms of just the time it takes you if you were doing an alternative method of, going on an exchange and, all of that. The emotion is probably a big one I spoke about a few minutes ago. When things are volatile, how are you going to time the market? It's no one does it, as Blake touched on earlier. And then, it can often actually not only a quality of life improvement, also it can actually be a financial improvement many times. Obviously, it depends on the timing of the market, but as Ben turns over there on to the next slide, we do have just an example of just the last 12 months, putting it into context. Let's just say you started out knowing, okay, in the next 12 months, I'm going to put $3,000 into Bitcoin. You could have, person A, who would be someone who's like, okay, I'm just going to put all 3,000 in there right now, and I'm just going to let it go. If you put that as a contrast that to someone who's like, all right, I know I want to put 3,000 to Bitcoin, I'm going to spread it over doing, dividing that over a year into weekly sort of increments. I'm going to, buy Bitcoin every week. If you fast forward 12 months to today, the result of that is the one who dollar cost average is the person in with the white line. They would be on at the moment 3,700. The person who just went all in at the start would be on the orange line. They would have about 2,700 from that initial 3,000. That's just an example there, but it can be quality. It definitely is a quality of life improvement, I would say, dollar cost averaging, and it can be also a financial improvement depending on the timing of the market.
Thanks, Matt.
All good. There's a lot of mistakes here as well. Just for, again, those of you who are a bit earlier into the space, ones that I know Ben has definitely seen a lot with members over the years, and myself with collective shift members, or even just talking to my mates and all that. They always get attracted to the altcoins first, the shiny thing, the coin or token that's going up 50% in a day when things are going crazy. They always tend to get attracted to it before they start learning about why Bitcoin is so much more, I guess, reliable and all of that. That's by far probably one of the most common mistakes. Their returns are amplified, just to really put it simply. When things are going up, like they'll typically beat Bitcoin for a period of a couple of months. But when things are going down, as Ben touched on earlier, basically all of the altcoins are down about 80 to 90% below all-time highs. Just about all of them. But then when you look at Bitcoin and Ethereum, they're down at the moment about 60% below all-time highs. Another one there, buying because of FOMO. So I'll hand over to you, Blake, after this one. But FOMO, so fear of missing out, goes back to my point about the entry and exit plans. People who don't plan will buy, almost certainly they will get to a stage in the market where their emotions get the better of them, and they make a decision that unfortunately, a lot of them will regret. Was there any in there, Blake, that stand out to you?
Yeah, I was just gonna add on to too many altcoins. What we've seen over the last 8 years is that many of these altcoins don't last. They'll be around. They'll market a narrative for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. But then when it comes to actual adoption and maintaining that narrative, it doesn't last. And we've only seen really 2 projects that have stood the test of time in such a dominant way, which is Bitcoin and Ethereum. And based off that, we can kind of project that forward and look at what do we think is going to be around in the next 10 or 20 years, and they're kind of the assets that we want to back. So yeah, we've seen it so many times. It's the allure of the altcoin, but it never lasts.
Yeah, absolutely. Spot on. And then listening to bad advice, this is easier, said than done. I suppose, particularly if you're new to the market, you'll see YouTubers, they're typically the first protocol in the crypto space. You'll see them talking about altcoins when things are getting crazy, and you'll start to think like that is the way to go. My advice here, for this bad advice, even us, I would challenge some of the things we're saying and then even go to another source, um, and then just get a nice range of opinions, and that ultimately can should help you narrow down and get some form of, like, I guess, accurate sort of takes and information. That would be, yeah, just diversify your information sources. Trading too much, another one, sort of a symptom of sort of not planning, or if you think you want to be a long-term investor and all of a sudden you're trading meme coins during the day. It's like, that is another very common thing, and again has really big tax consequences if you're not optimizing for being a trader. And then chasing high yields, similar to the altcoins. As Blake said, there's a lot of altcoins out there that will sort of promote high returns if you lock up your altcoins in them for a period of time. Look, it might work for like a week or two or something, but a lot of the time those sorts of altcoins just are not sustainable at all, and again can lead to people losing a lot of money. So yeah, that's a lot of common mistakes in crypto. Happy to talk about them more in the questions or even in some follow-up, but those are the ones over the years I see by far the most.
Amazing. Thank you, Matt. Now we're about to get into our Q&A. So we've got some questions coming in already. So thanks everyone for doing that. Now, obviously, we haven't been able to cover everything here tonight. There's a lot more we do want to cover, or we can cover. So one of the things we actually have offered, and we announced this on the Bamboo podcast probably a couple of months ago now, we're actually offering these 15-minute, completely free complimentary strategy calls. So what you can do is actually jump on a call with either myself or one of our member success team, and we can basically go through some of the more personal questions you might have around whether it be the market, your portfolio, maybe some strategies you're thinking of, and we can run you through some of our latest strategies in investing, research that we've done, security analysis. There's basically a bunch of stuff that we've helped a lot of Bamboo users and a lot of crypto users across Australia. There's a lot of common mistakes that we see people make. So if you're interested in that, as I said, we've actually helped out a lot of Bamboo users, and there's been some really great feedback. 15-minute call, absolutely no obligation to move forward. We just like sharing and make sure everyone's on the right journey. So you can jump over to collectiveshift.io/Bamboo to grab that. But in saying that, let's get into some Q&A. There's been some good questions come in, gents, so we might start off with Elliot, which was back around the scaling layer 2 solutions. Matt, does this make Ethereum more or less valuable?
Yeah, right. So in a scenario where, let's just say, Arbitrum Optimism really take off and get a lot of usage adoption. So there's a question here: would that make, I suppose, I'm assuming Ether, so like the token, like ETH, does that make it more valuable when you've arguably got a lot of users not using the Ethereum blockchain directly, but instead they're going to the likes of Arbitrum and Optimism? This is a very common question. My opinion is that the net result, it makes Ethereum or ETH like more valuable in this scenario. The reason being, well, at least with today's sort of technology, Ethereum just unfortunately cannot handle tens of thousands of people transacting on it, depending on the nature of the transactions, like all at once, without the fees going up 100, 200, 300 US dollars per transaction. So, if the alternative scenario is layer twos, take off and there's a lot of adoption, those layer twos ultimately still have to communicate back to the layer one blockchain and post all of that data, which in turn drives up, I suppose, demand for using Ethereum, which then sort of still has this sort of floor and source of demand for the ETH token. So that's my thinking there with respect to a scenario where layer two solutions like really take off and explode in usage.
Mitchell, is a Bitcoin halving not priced in already, even though it's coded into the code, or is it just hype around that time? I think we can all probably answer this. I think Blake probably has an answer as well. My perspective of it is, Mitchell, like for probably those that are in crypto that know, we know the halving's coming. The reality is when bull markets come around, a lot of it's driven by retail interest and FOMO. So for me, no, it's not priced in because, what tends to happen is when the narrative starts to come back around the Bitcoin halving is that's when people start to get excited and they start buying again. But the reality is a lot of the retail market either don't know or forget or don't care until price starts going up. And that's when people start to get interested and the FOMO starts to come back.
Yeah, I might just quickly add to that is that people find it hard to invest when the market's down compared to, for example, all-time highs. So even though that all the data's out there, we know that the halving is coming up in March next year. People still find it hard to invest, So when that time comes around is when many people may choose to allocate their capital, and that's going to perpetuate itself really, because then when the price moves, more and more people would become attracted to it and want to participate.
Yep, very cool. Thank you, Mitchell. Good question. John, if ETH is ruled as a security, would that be bullish or bearish? Matt, I'll hand to you.
Yeah, this is a good question that it's interesting, right? It's like, okay, that will be clarity from a regulatory standpoint, being a security probably in the jurisdiction of the country that is the US. It would just be the extent to which probably other countries would follow would be one factor I would look into there to determine whether it would be bullish or not, or bearish. Another factor that I actually just learned last year was that something can be in the US, at least this assuming it's about the US, an asset can be a security and a commodity at the same time. So if it, depending on the nature of that, it would again be a big factor. I personally think like short term, my gut feel is it would be bearish, but I think long term it would then maybe, again, depending on the circumstances, it may then set sort of the foundation for this crypto sort of industry to grow. Or you might see, again, other countries, maybe if the reaction is negative, you might see other jurisdictions maybe take that opportunity to sort of welcome crypto and be a bit more, I guess, aggressive in their welcoming of crypto, and then they maybe don't treat it as a security, and you see a redirection of resources there. But short-term bearish, sort of long-term bullish.
Yeah, I could probably add to that, Matt. In the short term, it would result in cryptocurrency exchanges and platforms requiring a capital markets license, which is very challenging and expensive to get, and is often a lengthy process. And as a result of that, there wouldn't be any trading in the short term unless the regulators gave a window of transition. But then secondly, it's also important to note that the question of whether or not Ethereum's a security or not is becoming more and more politicized, and is no longer necessarily a legal or a technical question, but driven by lobbyists and those special interest groups. So it's a dicey environment right now. It's complicated, and no one knows where it's going to land. And we can assume that those with the most resources are going to get the outcome that they're after.
Yeah, good call. Gary, what do you guys do when you sell and buy back in crypto? Just been wrecked from capital gains and never brought back any crypto back to AUD to pay for capital gains. Just want some opinions. Thank you. We've all been caught up in it. Gary, we get a bit excited and sell all to fiat, and then we buy something and we forget to pay the tax. Look, I think an easy way to do it is just quickly figure out sort of roughly what your income tax is. Let's say it's, I usually go the high side. So even if you say 40%, or if you're talking big dollars, even go to 50%, just store that away. Set up a separate bank account, or put the money in a separate account. So if you've made $10,000, put $5,000 away for tax. And that way you sort of got a bit of a stack there ready for tax time. It can be a little bit, tempting to tuck into that money, but yeah, what ends up happening is you get to tax time and you get slammed by the tax man. So yeah, try and do your best to sort of just put some away and just prepare for that future bill.
Yeah,
Matt,
an
just
ongoing
add
thing
on.
there, just before we get to some other ones. Yeah, an ongoing thing there you could do would be to start, as I said, the tax software has improved like greatly, like immensely over the past 2 years. I would say crypto tax calculator is one in Australia that a lot of people are using now. Coinly is another one that you would have a better idea of where you're at throughout the financial year in a given position, that you would then be able to make decisions, I suppose, with a lot more certainty. That's probably another tip I'd have there.
Nice. Elliot's bullish and he's buying. Emma, have retail been wrecked from the Luna FTX, etc. Though, has it ever happened before?
Yeah, I think it has happened before. I think what was so different and unique about last year was just the size. Just the asset class has gotten so much bigger the past decade, particularly probably the last 5 years. That it was just the magnitude of it, and all the media coverage made it look particularly bad. But I know Alice, so Blake's even been here like before me. So, but I have seen, ever since I've gotten into crypto, people have been getting wrecked from sort of external events such as exchanges losing their private keys, or just the security being compromised of a project, for example. But Blake, I know there was Mt. Gox was probably the big one back in 2013 and 2014.
Yeah, because it's new technology, there's a lot of experimentation, and unfortunately, in that scenario, some people are going to mess it up. Whether that's from the operations of an exchange or the way that a smart contract's coded. It's still the systems and processes aren't mature enough yet, because those things keep happening. But we see lots of great things happening in the ecosystem to protect people that are coming along, from regulation to people auditing tools for smart contracts, for example, that will just become more and more prevalent and even required. So it's a process, and it's going to take maybe another decade or more for the technology to mature, really.
Yep, good call. Christopher, I was trading on a couple of platforms and the volume rise is monstrous as a small trader. What do I need to know about this?
I think, if I'm understanding correctly, I think you may be talking about the market depth or liquidity of where you're trading. So like, I think you're saying that you're putting in $500 and the prices are changing a lot from what they said that they would be. If that is the case, then I would just have a reassessment of the venue you're trading on, because it seems like from your question that it's pretty illiquid. And of course, that would definitely have a lot of slippage and be pretty just inefficient to trade on. So I would suggest looking into a venue that has more liquidity, such as the larger exchanges. And apologies if I was misunderstanding that.
I might add to that as well, is that many of the smaller exchanges utilize market makers to basically trade between themselves in order to promote volume and attract people using the platform. And then when you go on there to place a trade, you quickly realize that volume is not as real as you thought it was. So certainly stick with the major brands.
Cool. Mitchell, would you recommend Rocket Pool to stake ETH if you have over 32 ETH? I've just linked you there a guide for liquid staking on Ethereum. I mean, if you've got 32 ETH, one thing I would consider is just doing it through your ledger and setting up a node yourself. You're probably going to get better returns, and it's also going to be inside your wallet. It's still going to be your own custodial. You're not going to give it to someone else. I mean, you can do it on those platforms, and on that resource I've just linked you there, we've got a comparison between Rocket Pool and Lido, and I think there's one other, Matt, Coinbase it might be. But if you've got 32 ETH, I'd probably consider just doing it through your ledger. That way you're maintaining the custody of your assets.
Does Rocket Pool provide a liquid staking option, or is it just delegated and fractional staking?
Yeah, it's liquid staking. So and you can also set up, if you're not comfortable if you had 32, for example, and you don't want to commit all of it to a given protocol, you can set up Rocket Pool, for example, like an 8, a sort of a mini pool, they call it, a mini pool with putting down 8 ETH as collateral. I think it used to be 16. They recently brought out one that's 8 ETH. That might be something to look into, so you can operate a mini pool. There'd probably be some trade-offs with again, like security fees, things like that. But that can be a good sort of like half in between without committing yourself fully to a given solution.
Yeah. And just for clarity, you can stake Ethereum either on chain directly on the Ethereum network or through one of these service providers that allow you to stake your Ethereum with them. Or if you don't have the 32 Ethereum, you can stake less. So yeah, it's certainly a good service for people that want to have access to that.
Brilliant. Emma, what time of the cycle did Mt. Gox going down happen? Did it affect the cycle? You guys might know a little bit more, but from my understanding, like, it was a lot of Bitcoins, but also what the price of those Bitcoins back then was really small. So I think like looking back, if those Bitcoins were still held by those individuals that held them, it was a lot. But at the time, I think the value of those Bitcoins, was I think I read somewhere about half a billion from memory. Blake or Matt, I'm not sure if you guys remember exactly.
It's a bit before my time, but yeah, certainly, obviously, Mt. Gox was the primary place to trade Bitcoins at that point in time. And I'm sure after that, liquidity in the market would have been very, very, very low. And we can, assume that the price didn't appreciate in that time.
Yeah. Cool. I'm not sure there's any other questions. We've got a couple more minutes. There's been some really good questions, though, everyone. Thank you so much.
Yeah. It's great, guys. We can certainly do something like this again. If we want to touch on another topic, we can see if we can get some feedback from our users and on the Crypto Curious podcast and see if there's any other topics that people would like covered. But yeah, no, this was great. Thanks so much for your time.